So, welcome to another episode of the Carbon Life Pods. This conversation has been highly anticipated. Been wanting to get this done for a while. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Gemma Anusa. Like you said, it's been a while, right? Like,
Yeah,
what, 2 years maybe longer?
possibly.
Man, that's crazy. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Life happens. But I'm glad that we're here now, and I'm hoping that we have a great conversation and inspire the listeners. So,
Yes.
I've just looked at my timeline. So, I think if we first interacted maybe in September 2020, I reacted to one of your stories, I think. And
Yeah.
a word you used made me laugh because it said it was about someone wearing masks, and you commented saying people aren't doing their own research, which I use a lot now in the work that I do.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't even remember doing that, but yeah.
and then I think I had to go through other pages or other accounts, and this will make sense once you start your story. But last August, I reached out and I said, we definitely need to do a pod. And the reason why is because you set up a new account for something that you were doing. I was like, this girl is on fire. She keeps setting up these things, and I could tell you were so creative.
Get
So that's
bored.
why I thought last year, let's do it. So could you tell us where you are now, what you're doing now, and then we'll probably start back at the beginning.
And then rewind to everything
Yeah.
else. Okay, cool. So where I am now, like literally, or like
Yeah,
in
well, yeah,
work,
literally,
or
because
literally,
of those listening, it's Boxing Day, and so
yeah.
this is a testament to how much I want to have this conversation. Because when you said, "Oh, I can do the 26th," I was like, "I don't care, it's Boxing Day, let's do it."
Yeah. Oh, sweet. So I'm in Thailand at the moment, and they don't really do Christmas here. So even yesterday on Christmas Day, I was working, because it's just, I don't know, it's things work differently here. But I do tattoos currently. I say that because who knows what I'll be doing next year. Um, yeah, so currently I'm a tattoo artist. I've been taking bookings out here in Thailand. I also have a studio in Reading. It's a private studio, really like nice chill vibes in there. And I don't know like how much depth you want in that, but the style I do is super feminine, fine line, pretty work, really intricate stuff. Yeah.
How did you get into tattooing?
So, it was something that I explored because you've been following my journey since I was doing food, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Which we'll get onto.
yeah,
But even with that, when I first had my son, who is 7 now, at the point where I had him, I knew I didn't want to go back to working for anyone. So I was like, oh, I really like creating and I also like food. I love tattoos. And I was weighing up all these different options. So at that point, 7 years ago, I was like, oh, might consider doing tattooing. But the reality of it and how realistic it was just wasn't, it wouldn't have worked out. So I
yeah.
decided to go the food route, until 3 years ago, where I was like, I'm bored of the food now. Let me explore the tattoo thing again.
Yeah.
Um, and rewind 7 years ago, I'd bought myself like a kit and like was experimenting here and there, tattooing on fruit and watching videos here and there, but wasn't really taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So then just sort of allowed it and forgot about it until I was like, I don't know what to do now. I'm not really feeling this. I'm not feeling that. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But none of it's really, I'm not in love with it. So I don't want to do it anymore. So decided to go the tattoo route again and literally just done a deep dive into being self-taught, was knee deep in YouTube videos and any free information I could get. I was just there. I was with it. Seminars, like online seminars, YouTube videos, just watching people tattoo.
Yeah.
Literally, the videos could be like an hour and a half long. I'm there, like, wow, the whole time.
There's a few comments you've made there which I implore people to take on board. So you mentioned if you're not in love with it, you don't want to do it anymore.
No,
So many people in life are doing something that they're not in love with because they feel they have to, or they don't feel like there's any other route. And then you also mentioned I was going to free information. Free
yeah,
information is out there. You can do almost anything, even like learn to fly a plane. The information is
I
free, and I
know.
say to people now, there's no excuse now.
Just Google it.
You may have to search for it. You have to, again,
Yeah.
deep dive. You may have to do a deep dive, but the information is there.
Yeah, everything is there, and the internet is free. Like, and even if you wanted to do a course, it's not that much money. People are literally giving you information because they want to gain exposure for themselves, and it's just finding those people and be like, oh yeah, okay, you're a good egg. I'm going to follow you and just learn off of you. But yeah, life is way too short to not love what you do. Because I just couldn't imagine anything worse than, like, I'd done that for a lot of my years. And I say that I'm not even old, right? But
well, I was going to say, if we rewind 7 years there before you had your son, what were you doing?
Everything. You literally name a job, I've done it. I've worked in a bank, I've done recruitment, I've done customer service, sales, marketing, name it. I probably have done it. I may not have lasted there long because I'm like, this isn't for me. And then I'm on to the next job. But I really had this knack for just, it's actually wild when I think back at it, because it's not often I go back there, but if I wanted a job, I would get it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got the job in the bank. I can't count. Like,
not many bankers or accountants can. I'm going to dox my wife. She's an accountant, and she readily says she can't add up, but she knows how the process of accountancy works.
Honestly, at the end of my clients, when I've just done a couple hours of creative work, they're like, "So how much do I owe you?" I'm like, "You need to check the message because I don't know right now." Okay. But yeah, I did all these different things. I was working I had a job from the age of 15, and I was working nonstop, and I've done everything you can imagine, and it was just, well, maybe not everything you can imagine, but a lot. And it just got me to a point where I've experimented this much. How can I still not have found something that ticks my boxes, or that makes me want to stay for a long term, or makes me want to like progress, or see myself doing this for a long time? And I would say it's only now that I've started doing tattooing that I finally found something that I can see myself doing for at least the next 3 years. Yeah, at least.
But we call it cycles. You have cycles in life, don't you?
Yeah. So it was quite the discovery when I kind of just, like, I have these moments where I step out of my body and just watch myself. I think a lot of people do that, but like, I'll be tattooing, I'm like, oh my God, look at me. Like, I'm really enjoying this. This is so good. So yeah, I'm just really happy that I've got to that point now with this where I'm like, okay, cool. Let me stick at this for a bit, see where I can take it. And then, who knows in the future.
And that feeling, once you get it, you want to hold on to it, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I started doing it from inside my flat, which is highly illegal. not allowed to do that. Yeah. But I did it. And
we say legal. It's just whichever jurisdiction you're in, the rules that they have.
Technically, it wasn't, proper, but the standards that I kept were as if I was in a shop. And then it got to a point where an opportunity came up where I was like, okay, let me just give this my all. If I feel like this, let me just try this out. Let me just put all my eggs in this basket. Because at that point, I was doing lots of things. I was doing art exhibitions and art events, and
we got so much to talk about.
Yeah, I was here. I was doing commissions, artwork, murals, and everyone was like, "Is there anything you don't do, Gem?" And I'm like, there's probably quite a lot I could still do, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, this was like the first point where I was like, I really enjoy this. Let me just let everything go and try this. And I've really received the benefits of that, and just how I feel. It doesn't feel like work. So
I could tell by your stories and your process of that, you're absolutely in love with it. You mentioned about it doesn't feel like work and putting all into it. I got into network marketing probably around the same time you started doing the food, and a line that will always stay with me. Somebody said, where your energy goes, progress shows. Yeah. And I totally appreciate there's parts of my life that I haven't worked on. There's no progress, but I'm fine with that because where I am right now, that's where I'm putting my energy.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So let's go back to the food then. Was that just like 2016, 17? Am I right?
Who knows? Something like that. Yeah.
Because
probably 16 when my son was born. Yeah.
So around that time, my son was playing football in Reading.
Yeah.
And I was made aware of your page was from friends that lived with me. Well, sorry, I knew and grew up with in Oxford. And you were doing food, and I think it was the patty burger you did.
Yeah,
No, dumpling burger. And I
Love
thought,
them burgers.
I looked at the page, and I thought, that's Reading. Like, my son plays football in Reading. I can get one day. But then his contract came to an end, and he didn't play there anymore. I'm like, I've missed out. But I still followed your page, and then not long after that, you kind of moved on into something else. Like, I'm never going to get that dumpling burger.
No, people still ask me to this day for that silly burger. People used to travel into London. I don't know what shop it was, but there was a shop in London that did the dumpling burgers. And people used to travel there all the way from Reading. And then when they saw that I was doing them and they actually tasted good, like they went crazy for them. But I was just like, I don't know. This isn't what I envisioned for my life, making burgers. So nothing wrong with it. It did well and it paid well during lockdown and stuff. But everything has a time, and that definitely run its course.
But it wasn't just, I said, people traveling for you to buy food. You traveled yourself, right?
What do you mean?
You went away to a retreat and catered for people?
Oh yeah. So I guess for people listening, the business that I used to have was called SKG Flavors. And it initially started off as the concept I had. I'll just rewind to the beginnings just to build a concept around this thing that I had. So I initially started it as a supper club. And that's, do you know what that is?
I can imagine, but please explain.
Okay, so a supper club it's really popular in London for when you want to meet new people and like try new foods and get like a food experience. But where I was new to Reading and didn't really know anyone there, and Reading is Reading, and anyone that knows Reading will know what I mean by that statement. So that concept of meeting new people and having new experience within Reading, within a certain area of Reading, was just a bit like, who is this girl? So it didn't do very well because no one knew me. So I was like, but I really like cooking and I feel like this is going to do really well. So people were like, why don't you just box your food up and sell it? I was like, all right then, why not? Let me try it. So did that, and then it ended up going into meal prep. So then started to do like healthy but tasty meal prep boxes that I used to sell to gym people. I cooked for a few people in Reading football team, and then it did really well. But again, it was so time consuming. I didn't drive at that time, and it was just, I was here, there and everywhere, and it just ate up so much of my time and energy. So then I was like, what else can I do? And then an opportunity came up where I got offered to help with my son's auntie's retreat, and that actually took me to Morocco. And then from there, I used that content to then show people that I do retreats and cater for retreats doing plant-based cuisine or anything that you want, really. So then ran with that. And then that took me over the country. And then I also ended up working with a local guy that does, at the time, like martial arts. And then he started doing like adventure trips, and then I started working with him, and it just spiraled into like loads of different things and avenues that I did. Sorry, my son is currently crawling on the floor. Rome, what do you want? Okay. Yeah, so that it ended up being that, and then lockdown happened, and that's when I started doing like the dumpling burgers and the like weekly menus, and people come and collect the food, and it just got boring. The love in the food I noticed was starting to disappear, and I was like, this isn't me anymore. This food that I'm putting out just didn't taste like my food. Everyone was like, I bet you eat so healthy, and I'm like, I loved a pot noodle during that time because I couldn't be bothered to cook. Because all I did was cook, literally like 7 days a week. So it was a lot. So yeah, just slowly fell out of love with that. And I've actually deleted the page now.
Do you know, I could tell because I went to look for it a minute ago thinking, where's all these messages that I had?
Gone. Like, shut that door. I held on to it for like maybe like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing anything with it. And that's like, I'm not there anymore. I've moved on. Like that's done.
So
and it was
where did you move on to then?
Pardon?
Where did you move on to from the
That
food?
was when I then started doing the art events.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pause you briefly here. I want people to appreciate your journey and people around. You can get inspiration from people, and I'm going to give you your flowers now. You've been a massive inspiration for the fact that I've seen your journey with your son. I've seen you go from doing the food into what you're going to speak about next. It's like this person is living their dream and being creative. I've always called myself a creative, and I'm like, but what am I doing? What am I producing? If you're not producing anything, you can call yourself a creative, but where's your proof of work? And watching you progress is like, oh my gosh, that is inspiration. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
Thank you so much. Like I really, really appreciate that. And it's so like, because we don't, it's not something that we talk about. It's not, we've just sort of had each other on social media and never really engaged with each other. So to know that you've acknowledged that about me, like I really appreciate that. Thank you. So with the art events, I guess rewind a little bit again. During lockdown, people were either cooking, making art, making funny skits, or like just doing things where we would just, I guess we were forced to be at home. So it's like, well, what can we do at home? And mine was I started to paint again. And this was, you know, I did art in college, always loved painting, drawing ever since I was little. So I was like, oh, let me just start painting again, and started creating some really cool pieces. That actually, the first piece that I created, it sold from somebody that I didn't know within, I think it was 6 hours, less than that, posting it. And that was just through someone sharing my artwork, and then another person being like, okay, I want to buy it. And I made really good money from it. And I was like, oh, am I on to another thing here? Let me just keep painting. Let me just go with the flow. So I was painting, and then like some commissions came out through Reading Council. And I felt like a few people had sent it to me, and they were like, you're perfect for this, because it was about Oxford Road, which is where I actually live. And I wasn't born and bred in Reading, but I've been on Oxford Road long enough to understand the cultural differences and like just how vibrant it is there, because I live literally where it all happens. So I'm a big part of it. So I put myself forward for this commission, and I got it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Now you got to do it.
I've got to do something like this now. And it was like, it's not something I've done before. Like I've had people contact me to commission an artwork, and I would just talk to them one-to-one. But this was like really professional. It was like a super, you know, a government organization asking me to make some artwork. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Got the job. And off the back of that, it got me more attention, and more people started reaching out and asking for more murals and artwork. And I was like, oh, there's like a cool creative scene here. And then I was like, you know what Reading doesn't have? They don't have an art scene really, or a place where people are celebrated. And with lockdown and people, I guess, turning to art and making that artwork, there was a lot of rising artists. I don't really like to say that, because everyone's a creative. We're not rising, we're not new, because it's just in us kind of thing. But people were sharing their work more because of lockdown. So I was like, what if I got a cool venue and did some cool things in the venue and got everyone to come in and show off their work? Because I think one of the biggest things about being an emerging creative or new onto the scene is, and a general thing with creatives, is they don't believe in themselves. So I wanted to provide a space where we could just gas each other up. And it be a vibe, and there's performances and live art and music, and it be fun, and it not be the typical art event or exhibition, because that's so same, and it's so boring. Like, oh,
What's the word?
look, I like,
Clinical? Is it clinical?
yeah,
The
like
word? Yeah,
I
yeah.
like this piece of art. Oh, it's like, I wanted it to be a vibe where we can all connect and it be quite intimate. So yeah, that done really well, but I didn't make anything from it apart from memories and good times. So it just wasn't sustainable for me.
And
Um,
what was the brand? The brand.
Anusa Creatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great, and it was fun, but the money that I put in was just all off my own back. I didn't get any sponsorships. It was just all off my own back. So hiring the venue, and the decor, everything was just me funding it all. And then working with new creatives can sometimes be tricky, because it's like, I deserve everything. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't give you everything right now. I'm sorry.
Did you do a couple of events?
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
in total.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Again,
I
just
think,
looking at the social media and the content, they look professional. They look really well organized. And
yeah,
again, you speak about other art installations and stuff. This didn't seem clinical or manufactured. It just seemed organic and natural.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing that I've learned from, I guess, social media, because that's been my platform where I've made my money for the past 7 years. It's organic is always so much better. Just be you. The second I tried to do something that somebody else was doing, or the second I tried to make it more professional or like structured, it flopped every
Yeah.
single time. I was like, oh, I just need to just do what I want, post when I want, at the time I want. As long as it's got the key bits of information, I'm straight to the point and I'm engaging enough, people buy into it, and they enjoy that, because it's just, people need the information within about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
If not, they're bored. So yeah, that was that, and that was good. But then I noticed that it wasn't working for me. Just, it wasn't going to work long term. Something I'll definitely pick up in the future again, I think. But just for the stress level that it came with it, and the income, it wasn't adding up. The maths wasn't working. So just decided to, that's when I decided to pick up the tattooing again, because I was like, let me just try it. And then it's done really well. So here I am.
And creatives, artists, I love looking at their work. What I find fascinating is stepping into the world of tattooing. It's permanent artwork, and I was thinking to myself, a bit like professional people such as doctors, mechanics, and stuff. You are dealing with things that can't be reversed. If that makes sense, you can maybe cover it over, but at that moment in time, you're creating something that is permanently on somebody. There's no room for error. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle that stress. So how
Oh,
the hell do
honestly,
you deal with that?
let me see if I can mimic how I held the pen the first tattoo I did on somebody that I didn't know. It was literally like this. It literally, like, I couldn't hold it straight. But I knew that this was going to be the case. So I practiced as much as I could on fake skin, which is nothing like real skin. Then did my own as well, like on my own skin. That was a mistake. And I've covered them now, so it looks slightly better. Yeah. And then I did close friends that were willing enough. I did my partner as well. And then also for the first, I'm pretty sure it's close to 100 free tattoos. And I got everyone to sign a disclaimer to say, basically, the tattoo may be crap, but it's free.
Yeah.
So, and I'm learning.
A trade-off.
This is on you, okay? This is your choice. How this turns out that's on you, okay? And luckily enough, I had that many willing people, willing for me to practice essentially on them, that it got me to a level where I got to practice on so many different skin types, tones, like even things like scarring, stretch marks, everything that you could possibly imagine. Like when it comes to skin, I managed to practice on for free. So when it came around to me feeling, and I didn't start charging until I was confident as well. So I tried all different styles, techniques, and it just got me to a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd say I'm at a good level now, because I didn't go the traditional route as well,
Yeah.
like the apprentice route. I absolute hillbilly with how I decided to do it, because I needed it to be flexible with my life, with my son and everything. So,
well, you had your proof of work, didn't you? So to be in that position where you had up to 100 people that were willing for you to mark them with
yeah,
ink. You
yeah,
had the artist for what you did before, your other businesses where they were
yeah,
successful, and you can tell that you're passionate. You're like,
yeah,
well, if Gemma's doing this, yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna get involved.
And that I think, if, let's say, rewind 7 years ago, if I would have started off with tattooing, I never would have got the trust level that I got
No,
through the 2 different things that I did prior to doing tattooing. So it meant that I'd built up, people knew who I were, they trusted me, they've seen that I do art, they know that I'm creative, which then set this standard for people that are like, how bad can she actually be?
yeah.
And some weren't great, I'll be honest. But that was kind of, they signed, they said it was okay.
Yeah.
So it's all part of the journey. So I just, so thankful to those people that actually let me learn.
And they could be quite prestigious tattoos in the future as well. This is one of the early ones, early Gemma's works.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's like, this is where we started, but look at where I am now. Like, thank you.
Yeah,
So yeah,
like
without
an
them,
early Banksy or something.
yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like worth a lot of money.
So you mentioned your son, and if people follow your page, they know that he's a big part of your life.
Yes.
Can you talk about that journey with where you've been with your son?
Where I've been? What do you
As
mean?
in, the journey with the relationship and also the traveling as well.
Okay, cool. So the relationship between me and him, we're like this. Anybody that knows me knows my character. He's my double, down to every last word and facial expression and just everything. Sometimes he says things, and I'm sure this happens with a lot of parents, is when your kids say something back to you and you can't even be mad at them because you know where that's come from.
Yeah,
It's like, your mouth is so smart, but that's me.
yeah,
Mad. But yeah, I've been co-parenting with his dad ever since he was 6 months old. So me and his dad have got a really good relationship, and we've just managed to build this amazing life for him, which means that we've been able to travel loads. Like I said, currently in Thailand. This is the third time that me and Rome have come out here. I've got family out here as well. And his dad has come out 2 times as well. So it's his life. I'm just trying to make as beautiful as possible, whether that's just memories, family, experiences, like just everything I do, even down to work. Like, I want a flexible life with work. I want to be able to control my hours, that I can come on a 7-week holiday, which is what we're on at the moment. Because I want that for him. I want that for his foundational life. I want him to see how big the world is.
definitely. There's a term, isn't there, when you take children out of education or mainstream, they call it homeschooling, and there's a picture that people have in their mind. But the more I've looked into it, people that homeschool actually say, no, it's not homeschooling, it's world schooling. We're teaching our children about the world. They're experiencing things that some people will never have in their lifetime, but they're experiencing it before the age of like 10 years old. Like, wow, these are going to turn out to be amazing, culturally rich people.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, and I just love watching him grow in confidence when we're in places like this. And even, where my family live, it's like an hour away from the Cambodian border, in the middle of nowhere, the sticks. We're talking like bucket and water type shower, and just for him to get that experience. And day one we get there, for the past 3 times that we've come, he's a little bit like, it's a lot to get used to because nobody speaks English as well. But then by day 2, day 3, he's playing with all the kids that don't speak a word of English, and they find a way to communicate. And just that in itself is massive life lessons for just getting along with other humans, regardless of language or any other barrier that's there. So it's, I just love that I'm able and in a position to give him that, because it will help him in the long term. Yeah, eventually he'll see that.
Definitely. But from your content on social, you can see that he's having the time of his life.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Living his best life, as he loves to say often. Yeah.
There was a question I was about to ask you, and it's gone from the top of my head. We spoke about traveling, your son. It will come back to me. So, plans for the future. Obviously, we spoke about moving along and finding your passions. I call it cycles. Is there another cycle that you're going to do a deep dive in, or at the moment you just purely focused on tattooing?
The way that things and my life has gone so far, I've just learnt to just flow with things and just do what feels right. And I think it's more just being in tune with myself and listening to when things aren't working. Because although when I explained the story of it all sounds so like, oh yeah, it's great, it's this, it's that, and I'm just a creative that just does this and it works. It really hasn't been that. It is, because that's what I show and that's what I choose to focus on. But there was a time with the food business where I didn't know anything else and I was scared to let go of it, to try something new. And I held on to that because I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it because I don't know if I'm going to make money from this. And then that just went on for months, and it was draining me mentally, spiritually, on so many different levels. Until I was like, right, I just need to cut it. I need to just let it go. And at that point, when I did, things started to get better. So from that, I learned that when it's something, when I feel inside me that I need to let go of something to try something new, if I get good feels about something else, when it comes to work, then just explore it. Don't be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Or if you make a decision, if I make a decision that wasn't necessarily the right decision, it probably is, because that's just part of the journey. I don't know if I've explained that right.
No, definitely. I call it, so sometimes there's a cost, whether it's time or money. I just call that your tuition fee. So you learn something, it didn't quite work out, that's the cost you paid.
Yeah. So I think that's like moving forward, that is sort of the things that I'll apply. I want to focus on tattooing. I would love to expand the business. That's kind of what I have in my head, that I would like a bigger shop where I can provide, this is just ideas right now, may happen. If I put my mind to it, it probably will happen, but life also happens in between that. So I just need to weigh up in this journey going forward, what actually needs to happen, and then we'll see what happens, kind of thing. But a bigger space with separate rooms where people like myself can create their own independent space where they can provide something like what I'm providing. I think that's because another reason, I'm jumping everywhere, I'm sorry. Another reason why I've got and why I wanted to have the studio that I have is because there's this massive like stigma or stereotype around tattoo shops, where women can feel often quite unsafe. And, they're expected to, possibly be half naked in front of men, coming in and out of the shop, or being touched inappropriately, and just not feeling safe as a woman getting a tattoo in an intimate area. So my space, where it's a private studio, it allows that safetiness for a woman to feel, and also being a female artist, it just does so much for women. And it's not, the place isn't covered in skulls and dark energy. It's a really nice environment. So yeah, women love it. And I think to be able to have a bigger space where more women, people can provide safer spaces for people to get things done, whatever that is.
Totally understand. As a comedian, Louisa Omelian, who uses the term, we need to have accessibility and representation in all different spaces, from politics, all walks of life, and that's what you're creating in there. You mentioned about a dark room or darkened tattoo studio where men coming in and out. That's something that I wouldn't probably think about, but now you bring it to life. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that countless times, that women are unfortunately victim to it. It may be the slightest thing, but it's the expectation of, just as an example, let's say a woman is getting a sternum tattoo, which is this area here, and which will require to have this area out. In a male-dominated tattoo space, they don't always have things to cover this area, or they may not think to have a more discreet area for a woman to get that tattoo. And it's little things like that is just not okay. And it's not nice, and it's not considerate. So it's just, it's a massive difference. And there's loads of other studios like mine as well now, which is such a beautiful thing, because women now have access to areas that they can feel safe in. So that's, it's an amazing thing.
So I just remembered the question I was going to ask you. It may go around the houses, but we'll come back to it. So talk about transferable skills. You've shown that you have transferable skills in different mediums. I'm always amazed by other people. One specifically is my barber. He tells me a story. He was at college. He was an artist, and his mate said, "If you can draw, you can cut hair." So that's how we got into barbering. And so I love to go to his place, one for a trim, but also just for the conversation that we have, because he's very deep in his thinking. Is there anyone that has inspired you, that has shown you transferable skills, that have done things in life you think, wow, I'm really amazed by that, but not talking like celebrity, just people that are close to you? Or are you going to say you are that person? Who motivates the motivator?
Really honest. A lot of my friendship circles growing up, and it's nothing on them, I'm the only one that has gone the route that I've gone. Everyone, I've got to be careful with my words.
I kind of get what you're saying.
I've gained friends along the way that support and uplift me, that are super close. But when I talk about my journey as a whole, even down to, the deeper sides of me, where I lost my mum at a young age, and it really molds and shapes your life and forces you to grow up at a younger age. So I have always been significantly different to everyone that's in my life. And I've always wanted to work for myself and do my own thing. I had this period of time where I did loads of jobs and did loads of things with different people in different industries. And when I go way back to in school, I was making bracelets and selling them, or like bagging up sweets and selling them, or do you know what I mean? I've always wanted to make my own money, even working from the age of 15. Like, I've always just wanted to make my own money and do my own thing. So to answer your question, it's no. There isn't anyone that necessarily has specifically inspired me. I've just always wanted to... There's fireworks outside. Sorry if there's bangs. It's not a shootout.
Is that for celebrations?
I have no idea.
Just general fireworks.
There is just fireworks.
Celebrating life.
Yeah, it's 6:48 here at the moment, so it's dark outside. So yeah, firework time apparently. So there's no specific person that's inspired me. To answer the question,
self-inspiration. I love it.
Yeah, I just see a certain life for myself, and doing it the 9 to 5 was never going to give me it. And that freedom that I desire for my life, desire of choice to do what I want, won't come from a 9 to 5.
No.
So Yeah.
Once you get a taste of that freedom, no matter how hard it is, you can't give it up.
You can't. And I had wobbles. I had wobbles through lockdown where I was like, I might get a job. I might do it. And my partner just looked at me and was like, no.
Don't get sucked back in. But
it's not making sense at the moment. And then
there's the meme, isn't the meme of two lions. One's in a cage and one's free. And it says one has a house or a safe place to live, free food, and is cared for day and night. The other has to find his own food, will fight daily, and is open to the elements. Which one's truly free? Like, which one would you want to be?
Yeah, I'll be that free lion. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite the journey. It has its ups and downs for sure. But I don't think I could ask for a better life that I've created so far, and it is only going to get better. It comes with its lows for sure. But I know what I want. So yeah, I just keep working and keep providing for my little boy, so that we do live our best lives daily.
Incredible. There's somebody who I follow, the owner of a large company in the States, but he says curate your environment, and he has a whole list of things that young people should do, which I'm going to pass on to my son. I can't credit myself, but I've heard it and I'm going to pass it on.
Yeah, of course. But that's why there's free information.
Exactly. But what I try and instill young people now is a journey. Go on a journey of self-discovery, then self-ownership, then self-discipline. So like you with self-inspiration, take it upon yourself to discover things. When you have that information, take ownership of what you do with it. And then when you are doing that, you've got to be disciplined. And depending to what extreme you take all three, depends on the environment you'll create for yourself.
Yeah. That's great. For sure.
So, Gemma, I appreciate your time. You asked how long we're going to be. I said between 45 minutes and an hour. We're nearly there. Yeah. I'm going to ask you the question I ask everyone at the end of the conversation. Yeah. You have a time machine. You go back to the school gates when you left school at maybe 15 or 16. You were probably working at that time. What one bit of advice would you give yourself?
Oh, that was such a... Oh, this is a deep one. Because 15, 16 was when I lost my mum. So my life changed like that in that moment. And I think this is something that I visited a lot. How to answer this time.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, honestly, it's fine. So I guess at 15, 16, I just lost my mum and I was doing my GCSEs and I didn't have any other family in England. So it was a super isolating time for me. And I didn't know what was happening next kind of thing. And from there spiraled a lot of behavioural and characteristics, I guess, that stemmed from losing my mum and trying to find love in a lot of people that I shouldn't have done. So I think, and it's so, I'm going like back and forth in my head, because even if I went back and told Gemma at that age, just love yourself more, she wouldn't have listened.
Would Gemma have listened, yeah.
But if she would have listened, and if she would have taken the time to do deep work, to find love in herself and to not seek love in others, that would have probably changed the course of my life quite a lot at that point. But at the same time, I wouldn't change anything that has happened.
Yeah, I totally understand. So, everyone's on the journey they're on, right? Everyone's on their right path.
Yeah.
And so that was the making of you to where you are now.
Yeah.
So what we're saying, don't change, just be you, as you said at the start.
Yeah, I think just be you. And that's something that I do drill into my son as well, and not that he does, but it's just to get into his head, never change for anyone. Do not change to adapt, or do not change to like to make somebody else, I don't know, see you differently. Just be authentically you. So I think, yeah, that might just be a little snippet of a gem to drop on her, to, if that, you can listen to it, you cannot, but at least remember it, you know?
Can we coin that term, a gem for gem?
Yeah, gem for gem. There we go. Here you go. Have that. Do what you want with it. Because she wouldn't have taken it. She wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
So yeah. But she would have held on to it. So yeah.
Wicked. Well, Gemma, thank you for your time. I'm glad we finally got to sit down and have this conversation. I do hope in the future we get to meet and maybe possibly work on something. Again, I call myself a creative, but I need to do something that is worthwhile. And you may or may not think so. I've been coining the term recently in my classes. Check out my website, guys. Interesting things happening. You may not think so, but I do. So
yeah, that's you got to believe in you, right? So
yeah.
And you've been super consistent with everything, so that's what pays off at the end of the day. So yeah, keep it up.
So if you stay on call, I'm going to end it for the listeners. And I had a panic last time, or say when I started the recording, because I did a recording recently and didn't actually press record. So I'm checking now. It is definitely recording. It's recording both sides, so we're good.
Okay.
This will be uploaded soon. So listeners, thank you very much. And again, I always say to people, even if you have one listener, we just want to affect one life. So 1, 100, 1,000. This is now a testament, a point in time of where we both were. Gemma doing some amazing things. If you want a tattoo, go and check her out. I'll share all your links for socials and everything in the show notes. Do you want to shield that quickly as well whilst people are listening?
So the only one I'm focused on at the moment is the tattooing. So if you are interested in getting inked by Gem, my Instagram is at inkedby.gem, and that's Gem with a G.
And inked is INKD.
Oh, it's inked without the E because I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your 7-week holiday, although you are working.
It's here and there. It doesn't.
I think it's what's called a busman's holiday, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Amazing.